Welcome. We are thrilled and delighted that you're joining us here at the New York Jewish Film Festival, which is a collaboration between Film at Lincoln Center and the Jewish Museum. We are really honored to have these two co-directors with us. They've directed the documentary Alone Together, which I know you just saw. And it was one of the first films we saw while we were making selection. And as soon as we saw it, we knew we had to show it. So please welcome our two co-directors, Tiberman and Kineret Hay-Gillor. I just want to say personally, thank you for such a jewel of a film, which really in such an elegant and precise way captures so much about the human experience through this one protagonist. And I want to just start with asking you how you came to this, how you both arrived at this story.
First, I just want to say thank you. We're very honored that our film is screened at the New York Jewish Film Festival. So the idea of the film, it was 7 years ago, Maya, something like that. Am I right? We were young mothers for young babies. Maya read a post on Facebook. She shared it with me. It was a woman who described her volunteering in First Hug Association. And she shared her experience of hugging a baby. And I remember me and Maya speaking about this post. And I remember that as a young mother, I asked myself how she can do this kind of volunteering. On one hand, it sounds amazing, but on the other one, it sounds very, very difficult. It was obvious that those volunteers must have a very strong story behind them. Something had to. Well, sorry, I'm starting over the last period. It was very obvious that those people who come to volunteer, they must have a strong personality, because it seemed very difficult for us to come and meet a baby, get in touch, and then leave the baby behind. So we were very keen to reveal, to find those people and to find out what makes them so resilient and why do they choose to volunteer in this special organization.
And did you immediately find Ravit, or did you interview many people before you landed on her as the protagonist?
I think she was our first one, right, Maya?
We met many volunteers. Most of them were women, but some men too. And first of all, we met the association and talked to the social workers who know these volunteers, and we tried to hear from them about the stories of the volunteers. And we came across different kinds of people. Some were grandmothers, some were young mothers, some had no children at all. Different kind of stories. And when we came across Ravit, she was one of the first women we met. She immediately captured our hearts. She showed us from the outside a very vibrant, very colorful, very happy happy person, like very trying to bring everyone together and make you feel really good when you talk to her. And then after talking to her and interviewing her, we understood that there is a story, a sad story, something like she's has experienced not a very easy life, and different kinds of frontiers, and this is what made us want to focus on her. We didn't immediately start with one protagonist. First, we wanted to tell the story of the babies, and then we wanted to tell stories of 3 different volunteers, different women. And then working on this idea, we realized that Ravit was the one who really who will really connect. People will connect to, and her story is like the one who will show best the connection between the babies and the volunteers, and the story of the life of the volunteer behind this act of volunteering.
So it felt like, by making that choice, it felt like a really elegant piece of filmmaking, because it didn't at all feel like a public service announcement or a Valentine to the program. It really felt like an exploration of a character that illuminated the program. And I was wondering, so at what point had you filmed the other 3 protagonists, and then while you were kind of deep in it, decided like, no, we're sticking with her? What was kind of the timeline of realizing, no, this person is going to illuminate the whole DNA of this film?
I think it was a very interesting process, because at the beginning we actually, and there was another question that we had to deal with. It was, who would be the main characters? Like, we thought maybe the babies should be the main characters or the volunteers. And we thought it would be very interesting to show, the POV of abandoned baby, and to try to describe the process that he goes through from the moment he is abandoned till like what the hugs, how it makes him feel better or not, and then we thought that those volunteers are affected, not in the same way, but they are affected from this hug as well. Like, this hug, it works both sides. So then we understood that we definitely should go and tell the stories of the volunteers, because we thought it's something very important for us to say. Like, this hug works both ways, and they give a hug, but also they get a hug in return. And I remember that, yes, we met a lot of interesting stories, and we started to film Ravit, and we had 2 other characters that we started to document them, to film them. But somehow all the other characters look a little bit pale. Comparing them to Ravit, because I think this duality that Maya spoke about, like, she's very warm and colorful and vivid, but beneath you could feel the absence and the loneliness. And I think that this really drift us, me and Maya, because we wanted to reveal more and to hear more and to experience more and more. So it was kind of, reality that took us this way. And also, we were very, very, we decided to follow what we feel and not what we wrote in those,
all the funding proposals.
Yes. So, it cost a lot of money, and we have a lot of footage that just, we left it aside and we decided to follow our hearts. Yeah.
It's so interesting because when you talk about her duality, about being so gregarious and so out there, but also so lonely, there's also this amazing balance and nuance you caught about her being so strong for everybody, but also being scared of her own fragility. Like, could she take having a child be taken away from her, and really her struggling with her own fragility, which you don't see in fiction, even like filmmakers able to kind of navigate through that. So it was just really beautiful to watch. And so you did have a couple of other stories. Obviously, you had the fellow who was hoping, the paternity test would turn out to be him, which is not usually the case with paternity tests. And you had the other volunteer who was so warm, but also, telling her not to consider fostering. So how did you decide to just like kind of grace notes of those two stories?
That's a good question. We had so many stories. Ravit herself also has different stories in her life and in different aspects of the things she does. And in the hospital, meeting each time different volunteers and different characters, we did come up with different stories. And this one, the ones we selected, we chose for the film. I think that the world of the abandoned babies can be very fragile, and different people who end up being the ones who have a connection to the babies also have their own stories, and you cannot tell if they might will they be good for the baby. They're not really their parents, so maybe they will harm them. And we wanted to show this whole dilemma of choosing the people who approach these babies, and also the pain of the people who really want to adopt, to have babies, but cannot. And it's very hard. I don't know how it is in the US, but in Israel, it's a very complex and hard process to get
here too
to get to adopt a baby. And people wait their whole lives sometimes until most of them don't get babies. It's very hard. So it's another aspect of this woman and her husband who really were very keen to be parents. And I think it's another aspect of this human story.
How long did you film? How long did you follow Ravit?
We filmed in the total for about, I think, 3 to 4 years, but wow. Most of the time was a period of around 2 years. And
I just wanted to add that I remember that when we decided to follow Ravit, we felt that we are taking a risk because there was no conflict in her story. But we knew that with her, we won't lose. Like, it was obvious for us that something will happen, that it will be interesting enough to follow, because I think, the thing that attracted us to follow her, I think she exposed us to a different motherhood and a different femininity. Because, she has her own way to be a mother, and she decided to follow her heart and to go on her way, and to be the mother she wants to be and she can be. And I think this is what, made us to decide that she will be our main character, because it was, for us, it was different.
Yeah, our society in Israel, and I think in most of the Western world, but in Israel in particular, is mostly conservative, and people here get married pretty young and bring 2, 3, sometimes 4 children. It's a thing that is very much expected of women in our society. And the ones who do not who choose or do not get married and do not bring children will have a different place and will be regarded differently. It's a different group to be in. And I think Ravit, what's interesting about Ravit is that she cares about it. She wanted to have to be on a relationship. She did want to have children, but as the years followed, and when she grew up, and she all the things that happened to her, and the surgery and everything she had to give up. I think what is beautiful is that she finds her own place, and she understands that even if I cannot have children of my own, and even if I do not have a husband or a family of my own, I'm still worthy. I have a place in this world to give mother, to be a mother to so many children, and to not only children, also the grown-ups that come to her restaurant.
You just feel her compassion and her humanity in every frame of the film. Is this the first time you two had worked together?
Yes.
Yes.
And how did you two start working together?
Well, we met. We lived in the same little village, you can call it, in Israel, and that's how we met, strolling with our babies. And then Kineret already told you about the post I came across, and we found that we have same interests, and we're both filmmakers, and we wanted to do something together, something that talked about womanhood, motherhood. I think, and what's interesting is that most of the crew we worked with were women too, and it was also a very unique experience.
For me, it was very interesting experience because I used to work alone, and this time I had Maya to consult with, to speak with, to dream with, to argue with. It was actually didn't argue a lot, but it was something very, very good for me, a good experience.
Me too.
Yeah. Good.
And has Ravit, have all of the characters in the film seen the film?
Ravit is keep watching the film, I think once a week or so. Like, for her, it also was a very good experience because her sister and her brother, they didn't accept her as part of the family because she chose not to have children as they think. And they came to the premiere in Israel, and after the premiere, they called us and they thanked us.
Wow.
Film and for getting to know their sister.
Wow.
for us, it was like a big award. Because, this is, the most important thing. Like, if they could feel the importance of what she does, I think for her it was a very good experience. And all the other characters, yes, everyone was there. I remember that Ravit told me after she watched it for the first time, she said, I didn't know that I eat. Do you remember that this scene that she told us that there is this scene that she's eating from a box, from a plastic box?
Okay.
She didn't she said, what, really? I eat like that in my home? Like it was, for her, it was like quite shocking in a way. But on the other hand, I think she felt all the love and the good that she does. So actually, I think it's a very good experience. And as I said, like she watched it once, I think.
And what's the trajectory of the film? Has it been in a lot of festivals? Does it have distribution?
Yeah, actually, it was screened in Israel in Tel Aviv, which is like a very big documentary festival here in Tel Aviv. And then later it was it won an award in the Toronto Jewish Film Festival. It was in China, in Chengdu Film Festival, in Russia.
Yeah, we won an award in Russia as well.
In Russia, it was an audience award, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Very global, very global.
Yes, it's nice.
And does it have, where will people be able to see it? Are you still seeking distribution, or do you know what its next platform is?
We have another film festival, I think, in Cincinnati, Maya?
Yeah, Jewish Film Festival, yeah.
Yeah, and there are lots of screenings in Israel, like it's still it's showing in Israel. And the most nice thing about it, like when it's not on online and we go to actual live screening, after we have Q&A, so after the Q&A, usually Ravit comes with us if it's in Israel, and most of the people want to hug her, like after the hug her. Which is,
yeah.
And what are you planning on? Are you two planning on working together again, or are you two working on new separate projects? What's your next move as a filmmaker? What are you working on next?
My film, Boy Khatan, it's in English, it's past continuous. It just released. It had its world premiere in Israel. It's about Ilan and Oscar, a Jewish couple, 72 years old. They got married in Australia in a synagogue after knowing each other, I think, for 42 years. And the film documents their story, like them being together against all odds, because they met here in Israel in the 70s. It was very difficult to be a gay couple in Israel in those years, and they had to leave. So it's kind of a sad but happy ending.
And Maya, what are you working on?
I'm working on like 2 different ideas, but it's very, I can't yet really talk about it.
So, well, I just want to thank you both again for we can't wait to see whatever the ideas when they come to fruition. We can't wait to see them. This film is truly just a beautiful work of art. So thank you so much we're honored to be able to show it.